All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by Ms. Lisa Curtis from Washington, D.C. Ms. Curtis is the director of the Indo-Pacific Security Program at the Center for New American Security. Ms. Curtis, thank you so much for joining us here on World DNA. Pleasure having you on the show with us. To begin with, ma'am, regarding the announcement which came for the Quad, that we will work together to maintain peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. Quad will have an important role in it. These were Prime Minister Modi's words. How do you feel China would be viewing all these developments taking place in the last 24 hours that we've seen?
Certainly, China would be concerned about this meeting. It was a very successful meeting between India and the United States. And of course, the Quad was emphasized, something, China is very wary of. China doesn't like the Quad. It's nervous about the Quad. It sometimes refers to the Quad as sort of an Asian NATO, but of course, the Quad is not focused on military cooperation. It's not a military alliance. It's more a partnership among four democratic nations focused on economics and technology. But still, I think the emphasis on the Quad would definitely not be something that China would welcome. I think China would also not be happy to hear President Trump talk about the increase in military sales to India, the fact that the F-35 is now seriously on the table. President Trump has offered the F-35 to India, some of its highest technology. This may not happen tomorrow, but the fact is that President Trump has indicated the U.S. willingness to sell such high technology to India.
Understood.
So definitely, I think China would be looking with wariness and would be, not happy with how well this visit has gone and the kind of commitment that both countries are showing to one another.
Right, Mrs. Curtis, and building on that, apart from the other conversations that took place, which range from trade, space, technology, and all of that, the other point which was very high on the agenda was of course, the topic of immigration. And now we see that one batch of immigrants have already been deported to India, and we're expecting the second batch. So after this meeting, how would you anticipate the bilateral talks taking that aspect further? And what can we expect from US in the coming days?
Well, I think it's clear that the U.S. hopes to deport more illegal Indians that are in the country. Some estimates are as high as 700,000 illegal Indians in the United States, many of whom came in the last 4 years during the Biden administration. So I think we can expect to see more deportations happening. However, I think given some of the controversy, the fact that the political opposition criticized the way in which the deportees were transported, many of them in shackles on a military plane, some of these visuals were not received well in India. So I think the two countries will have to, have negotiations on, how these people are transported, making sure they're treated well. These will be some of the issues that I think will have to be discussed as they move forward.
I hear your point. Ms. Curtis, you had mentioned about the F-35 earlier in your earlier response. I just wanted to take that forward with you. If you can elaborate a little further on the stance US is now taking towards India, very well aware of the fact that India already possesses the S-400s, and now they've also offered the F-35s. Now that combination has not been accepted well in, it's understood that combination is not allowed for most nations, but for US to make that offer to India, is it trying to get a piece of the pie that Russia has been getting all this while? Is that making US take that step, or is it, do you see it isolated from any interest that Russia has in India's defense expenditure?
No, I think there is a relationship. I think that India has probably made clear that if the U.S. wants to see India reduce its dependence on Russian military gear, the U.S. has to be willing to share high technology. India, will go where it needs to go to get the capabilities that it needs. And so I think this was big step for the United States to offer something like the F-35 to India to show it is serious, that it is willing, to go that extra step to offer this kind of, high technology, sophisticated technology to India. So I think it was very symbolically important that the U.S. was willing to make this statement. Now, I think the reality of being able to transfer the F-35 to India is another story. I mean, there are security requirements that will need to be met. These are expensive aircraft. So, one of the questions will be, does India have the budget for these items? So, this may not happen tomorrow, but the fact that it was mentioned, that it was highlighted even by President Trump, I think sends a strong signal about the U.S. intentions about where it wants to take the U.S.-India military relationship. And I think this sends, a good signal to countries like China that the U.S. and India will be cooperating even more closely moving forward. And the U.S. wants to ensure that India has the capabilities it needs to defend itself.
I hear your point, Ms. Curtis. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move further from here. Indian Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump rekindled their bromance during their meeting at the White House.
The Trump-Modi bonhomie that was evident during the president's first term was again on display during this meeting.
Now, the two leaders shared a warm hug to begin with as the US President greeted the Indian Prime Minister at the White House. Trump told the Prime Minister, "We missed you. We missed you a lot," quote unquote. Trump then introduced Modi to members of his administration, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who had his own meeting with Prime Minister Modi at the Blair House, who was also present. And President Trump gifted Prime Minister a book called Our Journey Together, which featured several photographs from Howdy Modi and Namaste Trump events.
Now, President Trump signed the book with message saying, "Mr. Prime Minister, you are great." Prime Minister Modi said that he was happy to see President Trump back in office and expressed hope that both countries will tread the path of success together.
Trump replied by complimenting the Indian leader on doing a great job. Listen to this.
मैं राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप का मेरे एक अच्छे मित्र का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं कि हम फिर से एक बार प्रगति की राह पर नई ऊंचाइयों को छूने के लिए चल पड़ेंगे.
Thank you very much. And he's doing a great job in India. Everybody talks about it. He's doing a really fantastic job. A great leader. Great leader.
And in the comments made before opening the bilateral meeting, President Trump said that he expects wonderful trade deals with India. Trump said that we're going to make some wonderful trade deals for India and the US.
Just going to get along well. We're going to get along with all countries. We're going to do very well. We're going to be doing, I think, record business, record numbers. And we're going to work with India also. We have some very big trade deals to announce in the very near future.
Prime Minister Modi praised Trump's efforts on ending the war in Ukraine. He said that India was not neutral but on the side of peace. The Prime Minister added that there were no solutions to be found on the battlefield, and he reiterated that it was not the era of war.
जहां तक रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच का लड़ाई का सवाल है, मुझे खुशी है कि राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप ने शांति के प्रयासों का इनिशिएटिव लेते हुए कल राष्ट्रपति पुतिन से बात की है. दुनिया का एक सोच रही है कि भारत न्यूट्रल है. भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है. भारत का अपना पक्ष है और भारत का पक्ष है शांति.
And praising the US-India ties, Prime Minister Modi said that US is the world's oldest democracy and India is the largest, which is why whenever the two countries meet, 1 + 1 doesn't equal to 2, but 1 + 1 equals 11, which showcases strength and resolve in working together.
अमेरिका विश्व का सबसे पुराना लोकतंत्र, भारत विशाल लोकतंत्र, और इसलिए हम दोनों का मिलने का मतलब 1+1 2 नहीं, 1 और 1 11 होता है, और ये 11 की तख्ती वो ताकत विश्व के कल्याण के भी काम आएगी।